Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on when and where you're joining us from today. My name is Jimmy Lee. I'm with the Institute. We are going to have a really great conversation coming up here in just a few moments. This is to be an interactive conversation. You've got questions, we've got answers. You've got questions about different point of sale systems. You got questions about Tekmetric. We've got the experts that are going to be here with us. So not to give everything away, but we do have Tekmetric in the house today, which is going to be an awesome conversation. Thank you to everybody who's here. We have a phenomenal panel that's going to join us here today, starting with John Phelps from Tekmetric. John is joining us as the voice of Tekmetric today. John, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, Jimmy. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. And just so you all know, I did try to canonize John the other day. I called him John Paul.
Yeah, I felt like I was a Pope candidate at the moment, but no,
You were.
he's,
You're in the
there
running.
we
You
go.
just didn't
Yeah,
know it.
no, I was a little late to that one. Apparently, yeah, that he was already selected. Even though he's from the U.S., no, I did not make that cut.
Nice, nice, nice. Well, glad to have you here with us, John. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate Tekmetric and the strides that you are taking as a software of value in the industry, really making it great for our shops to understand where they are, what they're doing, process procedures, profit, effective labor rates, effectivity is super awesome.
Absolutely, no, it's really been awesome to see. We've got clients like we have here today, and I know you said you don't want to give everything away, so we'll wait to bring them in here in a little bit. But just to be able to see the strides in the growth within Tekmetric, but also within our clients, within our shops over the last few years. I personally have been with Tekmetric a little over 4 years now, and in that time frame, it's been very cool to see. Number one, we've more than let me see here, quintupled, almost sextupled in terms of shop count, sub 2000 at the time, and now as we announced a few months ago, cracking over the 10,000 shop mark across the country, and growing bigger and bigger every single month, luckily for us. And even more so, and I know we'll get into this a little bit later, but the strides that those shops have seen since switching. And by no means will we ever take the credit for a shop doing very, very positive things with their own business, but we're just happy to be a part of that ride. One of the things I will say is, the national average based on the most recent metrics that we've seen in terms of ARO, which you mentioned, right? The average repair order, the parts and labor sales per ticket, is between 4 and 450. We've heard reports as high as 480. Whereas Tekmetric customers across our entire user base has cracked over $600 per car that comes across their shop. So 27% higher than the national average. And I know we've got a shop owner here today that can say a little bit more than that in terms of their growth that they've seen in the last few years. And I'll let them do the description on there. But very happy to be here and be a part of this.
Well, thank you, John. Welcome, man. This is awesome. And joining us, Jennifer Hulbert. Jennifer is a facilitator, coach with the Institute. She is a Tekmetric user as well, and she made the leap to go from one point of sale system to another. And Jennifer, we know the rules. We know the rules of jumping, and what are those rules?
Hello, Jimmy. Thank you for the introduction. So as a facilitator, my first rule of changing management systems is don't, because it is a very large deal and can be disruptive to your whole shop. I went against that rule and made the switch from a different management system to Tekmetric about 7 years ago, and have seen nothing but an upside from that switch since then. We'll get into some of the reasons why in a little bit later
Yeah.
in the podcast, but this has been a very positive move for me, as it has been for many of my coaching clients and group members.
Yeah, I think the top three rules of changing point of sale systems is don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And then point four says, to your point, make sure when you do it, it does fulfill everything that you're looking for.
Yes. Thoroughly
Yeah,
research it.
thoroughly research. I'm glad you research it. And your client number 2000 something something something
2488.
2488.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Welcome. Glad to have you here with us, Jennifer. This is awesome.
Thank you.
And by the way, just so everybody understands, not only is she a coach and facilitator with the Institute, she owns a shop. You own
I
a
do.
shop and run a shop in New York.
Northern New York. Yep. Service Plus Automotive in Calcium, New York.
Nice. Awesome. Joining us as well is Tonnika Haynes. She's with Brown's Automotive. She is phenomenal. Tonnika, we are so excited to have you here with us. How are you?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here. Happy.
You are. It is exciting, and you sound like you're in a cathedral of sorts.
I am. I'm sorry. Is my mic acting up again?
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's awesome. Thank you for joining us. We are all in different locations than we normally are today. I'm in Manti, Utah, on the road, helping to take care of family because that's what we do. We help take care of family. And Tonnika, I'm glad you're here so we can have this great conversation talking about your journey and what that looks like, and Jennifer, your journey and what that looks like. And to kick it all off, we're going to give John a few minutes to talk about Tekmetric. And so any of you who are tuning in, this is the 30-second commercial, which is a little bit longer than 30 seconds. We're going to give John some time here to tell us a little bit about Tekmetric and what's happening, what's going on, what the future looks like as well.
Well, let me actually do this. I'm going to go off script. Tonnika, if I could ask you a question. When you were looking to switch, now you joined us in July of 2020, so happy 5-year anniversary to that coming up here in a few days. But when you were looking to make a switch, as they've highlighted, it's a pretty big commitment. What were the utmost important things you needed to have in a resource, a software solution, in order to consider making a change?
For me, it was the fact that I could work off-site because at the time I had young kids. Just being able to use my phone, use my laptop, wherever I might be, I was able to connect with the shop. That was very important. That was most important.
Perfect. Now, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a live 30-second commercial because I wanted it to be very customizable to her situation, but also it's what we hear across all of our user base, right? One of the biggest things that we highlight at Tekmetric is being cloud-based. Cloud-based means we operate in a web browser and it's as mobile as it possibly can be. Laptop, tablet, cell phone, desktop, from Manti, Utah, from East Texas to upstate New York, wherever you are, you absolutely have that flexibility. And it's always been that way. Now, that being said, having that one feature being cloud-based isn't enough, right? To Jimmy's point, we've got to continually innovate. And I mentioned I've been with Tekmetric a little over 4 years now. And in that time, on average, we've released more than 3 new features or solutions, as we like to call it, every single month, right? That is couple hundred different solutions that we've been able to release over the last 4 years. And I say solutions because it's nice to have a nice shiny new object, but if it doesn't bring you value, if it doesn't allow that extra checkbox to be completed, something that you didn't have before, something brand new or a new way to look at it, well, then it doesn't do you any good. That's just a shiny object that really nobody's going to act upon. And so over the last few years, we've released things like our MSO, our multi-shop owner functionality, right? Our payments platform that has buy now, pay later, actually multiple financing options within that. We acquired a company, right? We acquired a CRM called Shop Genie, and we're building within a Tekmetric marketing platform inherent into the system. All along the way, we'll sprinkle in some smart jobs to where you can build entire estimates in just a couple of clicks. Instead of having to source every part, every labor line multiple times, go ahead and do a one-click feature right there. And then few smaller things like template text messages. Of course, we've got the two-way texting, the digital vehicle inspection. Tonnika, we spoke the other day talking about moto visuals and having videos be able to add it automatically to that digital vehicle inspection, that DVI, and the value that brings to you, sure, but really your customers, and that way that it sets us apart, sets you apart as a shop of anywhere else that they could go. And so by no means are we satiated with where we are. We absolutely want to grow as a product. We want to grow our user base, and being a part of things like this allow us to be able to get in front of more people, speak more specifically about the functionality of the software that is important to our shop owners and the value that each individual solution brings you, and hopefully hearing more about that throughout the conversation today.
Dude, that's awesome. I love where Tekmetric has come from and where it's going. And you mentioned smart jobs.
Mhm.
Would the industry call that a can job, or what is a smart job? What's that definition?
That's a great question. So we do have can jobs, which is a portion that we've had in the system for a number of years. However, smart jobs, it sounds like it's AI. It's not. It's actually built from the bottom up inside of the system. And so, interestingly enough, you can have a smart can job. So, for instance, if you've got an oil change, right, Jimmy, do you know how many quarts of oil and what type of filter your vehicle takes? If you do, it's going to be different than mine, very likely different than Jennifer's, and so on and so forth. And so instead of having 4 different oil change can jobs for our 4 vehicles here, you can have one smart can job. It is going to decode the VIN. It's going to know the type of oil, the quantity of oil, and the OE part number of that filter, which is going to be then cross-referenced with your inventory or your preferred part suppliers. And within a couple of clicks, it's going to know that it's 4.8 quarts of 020 or 8.3 quarts of 530, all within the same smart job right there on your estimate. And it's not just the oil changes. Sure, we've got the oil changes, the air filters, the brakes, but what about spark plugs? 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, 8 cylinders. Where do you buy your plugs? Does it automatically pull from the labor guide or your own dedicated labor time? Answer is both, whichever you prefer. Automatically applies your parts markup, your matrix that you prefer. And within a couple of clicks, without having to dig through, is it 4, 6, 8, 10? You've built that estimate, that job with a couple of clicks. So saves a lot of time. We plan to expand upon that to have a couple of hundred, but that is the early onslaught of these smart jobs inside of Tekmetric.
So I have a question. Did he freeze on you guys? Just on me? He's frozen?
No.
No?
I can hear you, Jimmy. I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. Hey,
Yeah.
so with these smart jobs, oil changes. Okay, I totally get it. What about timing belts or water pumps? Same idea.
Absolutely.
Looks up the VIN, looks up the part, looks up hoses, brackets, belts, everything that's needed for that job.
Correct. Now, again, being that it is a build proprietary solution inside, we've got to build certain things out. So, is it a water pump, or does it come with the supplemental labor that goes along with that? Okay, it's a water pump, but I've got to pull the pulley. I'm going to go ahead and replace the belts as well. There's different ways, and obviously different vehicles call for different repair within that. Then do you fully service the coolant, or do you just replace what's drained out? So certain things like that are continuing to be built out, but absolutely it is going to be the same concept. One water pump smart job, regardless of vehicle. One water pump or one timing belt smart job, or chain, I guess, regardless of vehicle. Absolutely, that is going to be the concept with it.
Oh, wow. Jennifer and Tonnika, what's your experience here with?
I'm back, and can you hear me now? I feel like I froze a lot there. Okay, so I love the smart jobs. I'm getting used to it. We were definitely in for the can jobs. That was fun. You go ahead and build it and make your notes in there. Everything was great. The smart jobs, when it starts popping up and is doing the work for you, it's amazing. So I have to remember that I don't want to say this aloud, but I'm gonna say it. I'm not fond of technology. I don't want a new phone when a new phone comes out. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people like that in the same boat as me. But once you get into it and you learn it, you're just like, okay, this is it. This is what's up. And so it's like adding, maybe not a whole nother employee, but it's like adding an assistant that can do some of that work for you. I love it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of technology, here we are updating mom and dad's phone. There are 19 updates. That's painful. Jennifer, smart jobs.
For me, I haven't used them myself because I'm not in a day-to-day position at the shop, but I know my 2 service advisors absolutely love them because just like Tonnika said, it saves them a significant amount of time. So knowing that we have this technology, we can utilize this technology, it's going to make our jobs easier is one of the reasons that I continue to be a Tekmetric subscriber.
I want to add to it though, because myself, my background is automotive, but I didn't come from a technician role, right? I didn't come from turning riches and having that inherent knowledge. And so to me, when I first saw the smart job functionality, it was one of those that 2 things stood out. One is a steeper learning curve, right? Getting somebody up to speed so they don't have to guess, what do I do with this? What do I do with that? What do I need to add into this job? And the second and kind of supplementary thing to that is consistency. We've all seen it to where one advisor quotes something separately than the other advisor because, well, their experience says this, and then they say, well, that doesn't seem quite right, so they pad something here or they adjust something there. But if you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 separate advisors, that same smart job is applicable across the board. And that consistency is there. So you don't have to worry about, well, did he quote it and she quote it the same way this time versus last time? So the learning, the training piece of it, but as well as the consistency piece of it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that consistency. Now you're able to bring in an advisor that doesn't have an automotive background, and the consistency is across all of them. So when an advisor is going to recommend an alternator, does that include the alternator, the belts, and the bracket, or is it just the alternator? Well, it
Right.
needs to be everything that's involved. Love this. I mean, that's just amazing. All right, back on to, I mean, we could go down this, I could go down this rabbit hole with smart jobs till the cows come home, but I want to ask you, Jennifer, you were talking about your smart jobs, your advisors using them. When Tonnika came on with coaching and training with the Institute, what were some of those first things that you looked at with her and her business?
Typically, the first thing that I go to before we get solid financials is just the KPIs within the system. So with Tekmetric, that would be the end of day report. And we can see her sales volume. We can see the gross profit in parts and labor, sublet, tires individually. We can see the collection of environmental fees. So if there was anything on the lower end of our benchmarks, that's what I would look at to improve first, and to make any adjustments into a parts matrix or collecting labor. Tonnika had a lot of those items pretty dialed in. And again, she utilized Tekmetric's ability to dive into those reporting to find some of those areas before we started to work together. But I believe Tonnika, correct me if I'm wrong, we looked at the parts matrix and made some decent adjustments to that. And I think effective labor rate too were some of the two that we looked at first. But she was well versed on the software and also had the familiarity to look into the reporting and a general understanding of her key KPIs, and they were in a good range to start off with.
Tonnika, what were some of those first challenges or process procedures that you looked at with a coach that you were like, okay, I know I'm here, but I know I want to be here. What do I need to do to get there? What were some of those things that you first looked at when you were with Jennifer? She talked about the KPIs. What else did you look at?
I was really concerned with my effective labor rate and how to increase that and get that closer to my door rate. And with the help of Jennifer and being able to go into Tekmetric and just make adjustments with the click of a mouse and just watch that effective labor rate and the door rate just start to closer and closer together. That was awesome. And again, like she said, I'm not coachable, but when Jennifer said, "Hey, go in here," she's laughing because I'm not coachable. I am. She said, "Go in here and let's change the parts matrix. Let's add this and let's do this and let's try this." And I drank the Kool-Aid and I did it. And I'm just slowly watching those KPIs just get to industry standards or even my standards,
Nice. And how close are you now with your effective labor rate and door rate? Are you exceeding the door rate? Are we there yet?
Not yet. We're not there yet. We'll be talking about that on our next meeting, but it is a lot closer than what it was before. A whole lot closer. So, just a tweak here, changing policy there. We're going to get there for sure.
That's awesome. And did it, Tonnika, had you never come on with coaching and training, is this an area that you would have found, discovered, implemented on your own, or did you need some accountability to make it happen?
Oh, Jimmy, I need accountability to make it happen, because I was one of those shop owners I'm still one of those shop owners that I look at the checkbook. So there's money in the checkbook. There's money in the bank account. I can go buy things, so I'm fine, right? No, Jennifer's not going for that. I mean, she's not. I'm getting better. Can I get it? Am I? Look, she said I'm getting better. I'm getting better at really understanding, not being afraid of those numbers. Like, if I don't understand it, I'll get frustrated. Just like I don't want new technology, anything new. But learning each and everything that she's teaching me, and when she's teaching me how to get that to a better place, let's decrease that. We need to look at this. What does this mean? I'm getting to the point that I can answer most of the questions. So yeah,
Nice.
the Tekmetric reports, they make a huge difference in being able to see what's really happening in the shop and not waiting for that credit card batch to hit the bank account and say, oh, I won. I know exactly how much I'm winning by percentages.
Oh, that's good. Jennifer, question for you. How do you, what's the method? What's the strategy? How do you take someone like Tonnika, and I'm not going to say survive because I think Tonnika was doing well. How do you change that mindset to go from a survival or a coasting mode to a thriving mode where she is implementing and she is holding accountability and how did you do that? How do you guide someone down that path?
Well, you first start looking at the reporting. So again, that was one of the reasons I changed to Tekmetric, was the high level of reporting and the ability to dig down deep to find the areas of improvement that we need. So if we're talking about parts gross profit, then we're going to look at the matrix. And then we're going to look at where do the majority of the cost of those parts fall within the matrix? Are we making the right adjustments to the matrix to really impact the total parts gross profit? So again, I'll say this a million times. One of the reasons I love Tekmetric is you can dive deep into pretty much any area that you need to. Just before this webinar, I was on with another GPG member, and we were looking at possibilities and ways to increase the average repair order. So we started looking at the vehicle inspections. Are the technicians identifying enough work to be able to be estimated to present to the customer? And that in Tekmetric is called average written repair order. So that's a KPI in a report that we can look at to say, hey, if I'm in the $1,000 range, I'm typically going to have a lower average repair order, where if I'm consistently estimating 2,000 or 2,500, which is what we recommend, I'm going to be able to get to that $800,000-$900,000 average repair order if we have an effective service advisor. So depending upon which KPI we're trying to improve, Tekmetric has an ability to look at a report and say, okay, these are the areas that we're identifying. Now we know, do we go to the technician for a change in the DVI process? Do we go to the service advisor for an upgrade or a higher sales training ability? Do we look at a change in a matrix? Do we need to increase our labor rate or our labor matrix? So it's a little bit of a loaded question, Jimmy, as to where we look first, but it depends on what area that we're focusing on. And again, Tekmetric makes it easy because we typically have a report that we can dive deep into.
Oh, for
Can
sure.
I add to that real quick? Only because, I do say this a lot, but you just verbalized it and kind of put it to life in that there's a few different reports that Tekmetric provides you that allow you to go from a 30,000 foot view to a 3-foot view very, very quickly, right? How we do and how did this RO get to this point? And whether
Yes.
that be a WRO, what advisor, what technician, what matrix didn't get applied? Oh, we had a discount, we had a coupon, we had a one-off, and it allows you to find those. But it does allow you to see how are we doing, what happened here within just a couple of clicks on various reports.
Absolutely. And that's what I did just before this webinar, was to go in and look at individual service advisor. And we found that it was one service advisor that we need to focus with and one technician. And they had worked together quite a bit the month before. So that had the effect, or the negative effect in this case, on the average repair order. So yeah, being able to dive deep and to see, okay, what's the overall KPI for a time frame, and then dig down into each individual repair order is very simple.
Oh, that's awesome. Tonnika, I've got a question for you, but I'm going to ask John first. John, what do you hear from shop owners that are coming over and adopting Tekmetric? What's their reasons for coming over? Why do they choose Tekmetric?
We're going to hear any number of reasons, dozens and dozens of reasons. However, we have actually boiled it down to really one of 4 things, right? Simplicity or ease of use, right? How easy is it to actually operate the system? We've already mentioned change is hard. We want to minimize that difficulty to a matter of a couple of days, if that, not a couple of weeks or a couple of months. So simplicity or ease of use is a key portion. Second is consolidation. How many systems can Tekmetric replace? Right? If you've got a system for texting, a system for digital vehicle inspections, you have a separate payment processor, you even have a separate marketing piece, and the list goes on. Tekmetric has all that built in, and it's all right there. Now we have the integrations with a lot of other companies, but we also have that product built right in. So consolidation is another one. The other two are performance and dependability. Performance is, does it work how it's supposed to? Meaning, does it work like it's supposed to run in an auto shop? And yes, I have had that said to me many, many times. It actually looks like it's supposed to run in a repair shop. Well, that's how it was designed. That was the whole intent. It wasn't a restaurant software that we thought would work in auto shops. No, it was built for auto shops. And then dependability, does it work when it's supposed to? With over a 99.9% uptime, even in the cloud, you've got very minimal, if any, downtime in the actual software, because if something happens, it's usually fixed very, very quickly. So regardless of everything that the shop owners say, simplicity, consolidation, performance, and dependability are the four things that those all kind of bundle up into in terms of the reasons that they switch.
Yeah, and Tonnika, now the question comes to you. You were on a different point of sale system before you decided to switch over to Tekmetric. What was that deciding factor for you?
For me, it was exactly what he said. I needed something that was more dependable. I needed something that could give me reporting, even though I didn't even know how much reporting I actually needed at the time. I needed something that was easy for my customers as well. Everything is under the umbrella with Tekmetric. The text to pay, the DVIs, all of that information, because I'm in a college town, so there's a lot of students. And so when the parents are a couple cities or a couple states away, I need to be able to communicate effectively with them. So the DVI, giving them a full picture of what's going on with the vehicle. In case they're too busy, I can send it to their email. I can send it to a text. We don't have to play phone tag. So that made the biggest difference for me, being able to effectively communicate with all of my customers. That was a big sales point for me. And like he was saying, what I had before, I believe was designed for a dental office. And so it really didn't fit automotive as well as it should have. But these guys have built it from the ground up, and everything works seamlessly. I love it.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad it's working. I'm glad it's working extremely well for you too. Jennifer, you have the rules that thou shalt not change thine point of sale system. What was that deciding factor? What's the tipping point for you with the rule that says thou shalt not?
For me, it was, we had 3 different systems. We had a DVI system, we had a time clock, 4. We had a text platform, and then we had the management system. And there were constant communications between the 4 systems and the level of reporting. So as my group members know, I'm a very detailed numbers person. So being able to dive deep into identifying an area of improvement is important to me. And my old management system didn't allow that to happen as easy as Tekmetric did. So just having all of the communication systems working together was the key factor, and the reporting.
Yeah. And does that help you with your coaching and training with shop owners, having a point of sale system that has good reporting, good data, good information?
It's imperative. I can't detect what I can't see, and I can't coach it for an improvement of what I can't identify. So having detailed reporting is imperative from a coach and a facilitator standpoint. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it sure is. Sure is. Makes all the difference. Tonnika, were you at all afraid or fearful of switching from one point of sale system to another?
I can't say that I was afraid. I was ready. I'm shop number 967. I was ready to get on board for something new, and it worked seamlessly for me. Onboarding was easy. Actually, it's probably a lot easier than I can remember. I remember it was just easy. Overnight, they had everything uploaded. The learning curve, of course, with anything new, you're going to have a learning curve. But I remember just thinking like, wow, where has this been all my life? So for me, it was easy.
Yeah. Props to you, John. Props to you and your team. That's pretty cool to have an easy transition, an easy thing like that. That's pretty dang cool to make it easy for everybody to come over.
Yeah, I mention a lot when I'm doing any kind of presentation, right? Day one is tough. It is because it's just something different. I mean, quite frankly, we are going through a transition in our own CRM and what we use to record to take record of our customers and prospects and so on. So we're absolutely in that transition as a company right now. So by all means, I've done it before on the automotive side, but we're doing it here at Tekmetric as well. And what I always say is, yeah, day one's tough. Day one's a little less tough, right? Gets a little bit better, but by day five, you're able to show the person next to you, look at this feature that I found. Look at how I do this. Look at what we're able to do with this now. And I've said that in rooms, and by all means, I want to make sure there's corroboration. And people in the room say, yeah, absolutely, it was that way. You're going to find nuggets along the way. You're going to find things that maybe you glossed over or didn't absorb, quite frankly, that first try. But along the way, especially as we update, there's those new things that you find, and wow, okay, that's a simpler click. I can open that in a new tab. I don't have to jump out of this, and it just becomes a little bit more seamless day after day.
Oh, that is so cool. And Tim's piping in here talking about how techs love using their cell phones with the app rather than using a tablet or a computer.
Yeah, it is one of those things that, we always early on especially touted, hey, look, you can use this on a tablet. No, you don't have to buy the $1,000, $1,500 ones. You can buy the $200 ones. And I have the ability and the privilege of visiting a lot of shops with my role, and you see tablets kind of sitting on a charging cord on a toolbox. And technicians specifically like the mobile use of the phone. It's their phone. They're used to the screen. They know where the buttons are, and they can take the picture and they can put it in their pocket. And then they
Yep.
can move to the next one. They can take the picture, they can put it in their other pocket, and they can use voice to text and type if they would need to, whatever the case is. And in knowing that, that's why we developed the app. The app started off, it was released last fall, but it started off specifically for digital vehicle inspections. It was technician focused to ensure that they had an optimized um, app ability to use that on their phone because it could have gotten a little clunky, right? I'm on my phone. I like it better than the tablet, but it jumps over here and it's not optimized specifically for that because I'm just logging into the website on my phone as opposed to an app. So releasing that and now coming up with new iterations, VIN scanning, license plate scanning, being able to add prefixed shapes and colors and text boxes to the pictures. I think we're on version 1.9 or something like that now with the app itself. So it is continuing to evolve.
Nice. That's awesome. Tonnika, Jennifer, Tonnika first. Was there anybody resistant to this change?
I'd say, yeah. I've had, tech that's been with me for a few years and he's just not sold on the DVI. But I think since it's on the phones that we have the app that was dedicated just for the techs, that's so much easier than the big clunky tablet now. And so he's buying in. He's buying in. I can see the DVIs getting better, more pictures on each DVI. That 300% rule is ruling. So yeah, for sure.
Nice. Jennifer, any holdouts, any resistance at your shop?
I was the biggest holdout because I had used my previous management system for 20 years and the change was very difficult for me. For my technicians, we didn't have the app at that point, but they moved pretty seamlessly. And my second advisor at the time was a little more up on technology than I was, so I'll fall into Tonika's shoes a little bit there. And he picked up on the software much more quickly than I did because it was a different process for me. We didn't start in the same screen with my old system, so it was like a thought process change that I had to get myself over. But the technicians, they worked pretty well because we were, well, I don't want to say this. We went from paper to digital and then to Tekmetric pretty quickly. So they enjoyed the ease of the DVI because that is an area that we were very focused on at that time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. DVI is a drum that I'm very familiar with, and I absolutely pounded that drum for 4, 5, 6 years in the industry. Tonnika, to the DVI and educating the customer, what do you find it works best in educating that customer?
The DVI along with motor visuals, that is a game changer. Like, for example, we all speak different languages. I can try to explain to the customer a certain way and try to make it apply to everyday life, or try to find something that I can compare it to. So you can do that. You've got the DVI with the images of their car. And if they still don't understand it, it's connected to motor visuals. So you got a win, win, and a win. So and then the reporting, and I'm so happy for Jennifer for pointing this out. There's so many reports on here, but the reporting on which check is doing the DVIs, how many photos, how many videos per DVI is he doing, and the more photos and the more image, the more videos, the easier it is to sell that job to the customer. So the DVI reporting is winning, the DVIs themselves are winning, the integration with motor visual is all a win. And again, like I said, I have a lot of customers who have students. I mean, their students and their parents need to make these decisions. Not only that, as we are close to UNC, and that's UNC hospital, major hospital. So we have physician and hospital staff. We've got nurses. We have a lot of people that are just busy in their everyday life. And so maybe they don't get to talk to me about the findings on their vehicle, but the DVI helps communicate everything that we found. And if they don't understand or they need to dive deeper into it, they get a break. They can pick up the phone and give us a call. Hey, I've looked at the pictures. Oh my goodness, is that my car? Yes, it's my car. Did you follow the link to the video? Yes, that is pretty cool. Thank you. What should we do? And then we can go ahead with our sales process from there on out. So the DVI, again, like another employee.
Yeah. And the answer is fix it, fix it, fix it. Keep me safe on the road, whatever it takes. Keep me safe. Yeah. Educated customers are the best. They make the best decisions, especially when you're having to send it to mom and dad. They might be in New York or Maine or Florida, and there you are in North Carolina. It helps them make those decisions as well.
Well, the DVI does that, but it also creates that trust and transparency. So there is no question on what needs or the reason it needs to be repaired. And that, I mean, that's what we teach in the group process of the number one reason to do the DVI is to create that level of trust with your customer and to build that relationship that what you're saying is absolutely what the vehicle needs. And we can prove it with a picture and a video of your vehicle, not just something that's prefabbed and out there of, this is what a clunky ball joint looks like. No, this is your vehicle and I can move your tire because it's, you actually have it that loose. So it's that level of trust and transparency that I push the DVI for.
Oh, yeah, it is. And that transparency is paramount. Tonnika, what is the 300% rule? You mentioned that a couple of times now.
I think that's one of the hardest rules for shop owners that have been in the industry for a long time to apply. Is you write up 100% everything that you look over 100% of the car, present 100%, estimate 100%. And it's hard to do because you feel like you might be pencil whipping, but you're not. You're giving them a full picture of what's going on with their vehicle. And that's very important. Not to get off subject, but I had my vehicle at the dealership when I was on vacation for something, and they did not follow the 300% rule. They did the DVI. They showed me the problem. They showed me the video, did not present me with an estimate for that, did not do anything other than show me the picture. Because personally, for me, I would have gotten it done while I was there, while I was on vacation, because that's not a job I wanted to do in my own shop. It'll never get done, Cobbler daughter never has shoes. So the 300% rule is effective. Like I said, it is difficult to buy into. It's difficult for techs to buy into, especially if you haven't been doing it the whole time. But once you do it, the average repair order automatically goes up. That means you have less cars that you have to bring in to hit the KPIs. You can explain to the technicians, hey, if you go through this car thoroughly, and if I do my job, then that means you have less cars to get on the lift every day. So instead of working on 10 cars to make your goal, you can work on 4, you can work on 5. And so I think everybody just needs to get on board, study it, understand it, and do it right, and it'll work out for you in the long run.
Oh, so true.
You're also helping the customer make an educated decision on what investment to make in their vehicle. So if you're only giving them the bare minimum and say that the estimate is $800, but they really need $8,000 worth of work, is it should they put the $800 into that vehicle, or would they make a different decision? Or is this something that they want to last? So, they are going to make that investment, so they have that long-term vehicle, and they don't need to purchase something else.
Yeah, I love that 300% rule where everything gets, you take a picture of every recommendation, you estimate everything, and you present everything to the client, the customer. That customer is going to make a much better decision about their vehicle and being safe on the road. Or, Jennifer, to your point, am I going to put $20,000 into a car that's worth $1,200? Well, it depends. Is it sentimental? Yes, I'm going to put $20,000 into it. Is it not applicable? Yeah, okay. We just paperweight that sucker and let's go get a new vehicle. John, I have a question for you about the 300% rule in Tekmetric. What reporting do you have in Tekmetric that helps us to know if a technician and a service advisor working together is presenting everything to the customer?
A few of them, actually. So one of the things they were talking about earlier and being able to dive in, I didn't mention this, but it's coming to mind now, is the real-time reporting. Being able to see what's happened before it actually closes. So if a correction needs to be made, you don't have to wait for the fire to burn down the house. You can put the fire out before it gets started. And so there's the real-time service writer report, then the real-time technician report. And it allows you to kind of see things as they're happening, as they're being estimated. Now, we've talked a lot about the digital vehicle inspection, that DVI, and to go back on why people say yes, I gave you the 4 main things of what it rolls up into, but the most common feature mentioned is the DVI, is that digital vehicle inspection. And within the inspection report, which falls under the employee reports, it allows you to see, and Tonnika already kind of mentioned this, I believe, was that, well, how many vehicles do we have? How many of those actually have a DVI on them? How many of those are completed? How many of those were sent? How many of those were viewed by your customers? And then you can see the breakdown of how many pictures, how many average findings per tech, per advisor, per inspection. If you have multiple in there, you can see which ones are most effective, most impactful. And it really allows you, like I said, to kind of drill down and see, okay, this DVI is my default one. Of course, it's going to be the most common. However, we're supposed to do some extra checks on any car over 150,000. Well, we're not seeing that being done by this advisor, but it is being done by this advisor. Well, this technician is adding 12 pictures and their ARO is through the roof compared to this technician's adding 6, and it's really kind of the 4 corners and the driver door open. It's the default pictures that we have, right? And so that inspection report is one of those that really allows you to inspect what you expect. It just so happens to be called the inspection report. Setting those goals, a lot of times we have the outcome-based goals. I want to be here. But really, it's the performance side that allows us to achieve those goals. And these are the reports that allow you to see the performance as opposed to just, well, let's just see what the outcome is at the end of the month. I want to see what the performance is as we go. So I can make in-game adjustments, whether that be in the RO, throughout the day, throughout the week, or the month. It allows you to make those adjustments and really start to improve that before it's too late.
John, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit with pictures and DVI. Are there natural breaks that you see in patterns that says, hey, if a technician takes 12 pictures, his average repair order probably is in this range. If he takes 20 or 40 or 60, do you see an absolute correlation between the number of pictures and the average repair order?
Absolutely. More than 8 is that number. Now, within that inspection report, it breaks it down by those picture ranges. And I want to say it says 0 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 15, or 18, or something like that. And it gives you that bar graph, an ARO bar or line graph, I should say, of, well, here's my ARO. And then when I get up to the 8 to 12 to 15 pictures, and then when I get over 20, 25, and by all means, different shops have different processes. And I've talked to shops that say, I require 30 pictures. Now, when you aggregate the data, you're going to see those peaks a little bit earlier. And it really is that greater than 8. In fact, we did a study, and it was a few years ago now, but what we found was when there's at least 8 pictures or more, and it is sent to the customer at least 50% of the time, right? Take all the pictures you want. If you don't send it, they never see it. Yeah. If you send everything but take 0 pictures, you're not doing yourself any good. So if it has at least 8 pictures and sent to the customers at least 50% of the time, shops that did versus shops that didn't saw a $106 higher ticket. ARO was $106 higher for those that met that criteria versus those that didn't. So that sweet spot that we see is, let's just say 6 to 15 in that peak in that ARO for the number of attachments. And it does say attachments because you can add videos, you can add PDFs as well. But pictures is the most common, and it is that nice mid-range of, call it 6 to 15.
Yeah, when I was pounding on this DVI drum, standard pictures to take on every single vehicle, whether it's the four corners, the engine, the door, the license plate. You've got some standard pictures that you want to take. And anytime a technician makes a recommendation, take a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Take a picture, take a picture, take a picture. It will sell it every single time. There was a shop I was talking to, and we were doing a little bit of a DVI audit. And a DVI came in from the tech. We're looking through there, and I said, "Hey, look right there. The technician's recommending a battery. That a battery needs to be replaced. That of 660 cold cranking amps, it was at 300." And the tech didn't take a picture. And I said, "Hey, tell the tech to take," and this had already gone to the client, the customer. The customer declined the battery because what do we know about cold cranking amps? It's middle of summer. I don't need cold cranking amps. It's not cold. Take a picture to show the customer. And they took a picture of the little report that comes out of the battery tester, sent it to the customer. And the customer says, "Oh, yes, absolutely. No, now I understand. I am borderline going to be stuck in the parking lot somewhere, not able to start my car because it's not going to start."
What I've always found is people's biggest objections, right? The most common objections we hear really boil down to one of two things: time or money. But when you take that money piece and you dig into it a little bit more, it's not necessarily the cost, it's the value or the lack thereof. And if a customer doesn't see that value, and that's brought to them by information and benefits, right? I need to have the information so that I can see the benefit. And if that's the case, the value outweighs the cost. Therefore, money is an objection. It should really be about they just simply don't have it versus they don't see the value in it. If it were to boil down to that. And that's what this allows. We've talked about the education and the transparency. It's providing that information. They don't need to know how to replace it themselves. They don't need to know how the inner workings of the alternator actually work. But to know what it does and the importance of it to the running of the vehicle, that alone allows them the educational piece, that information, to see the benefits, and allows them to say yes to the repair.
Nice.
And sometimes seeing those benefits is not even connecting with the customer. It's all digital, which to me in my generation, I love that personal connection. So I want to have that call and that explanation, but the newer generation sometimes don't like that. So if they can see the reason why on the DVI and then receive the estimate digitally, then they can make a decision and have very little interaction with the shop. So we have that ability to do both.
I had a shop owner tell me that they did 83% of their business, their dollars, touchless, text message. That was it. Now, we're not going to say we're going to eliminate the phone calls, but it may help to increase that efficiency if you can text back and forth to set up the phone call, as opposed to the 4-time phone tag back and forth throughout the day. And then it's too late in the day to order parts, can't get the car done. All of that possibly could have been done via text. So hopefully we can increase that efficiency with the phone calls. And in some cases with some customers, you can actually eliminate it because it can be as touchless as you want it to be.
Oh, it's so true. I mean, Tonnika was talking about the university, parents that are around, the hospital. There's so many professionals where they can't check their phone. They can't take a phone call, but they can check for a text message. And from that text message, respond, yes, fix everything, do it all, whatever that case may be. That texting, I didn't know as high as 83%. That's really high, I think.
That was the highest I'd seen. I will say that. But even now, and you know, we've got, obviously you can text the inspection with the pictures and videos. You can text the estimate, and then you can, number one, you can capture a digital signature. And number two, if you do have our payment processor and our buy now, pay later, they can actually apply for a buy now, pay later on the estimate itself. So granted, you've got to set the expectation with your customers. I will be texting this to you because you can send them text all day. If they don't know who it's coming from or what it's about, those can go unread. Otherwise, if you're setting that expectation and letting them know is if this is the preferred way, we can do everything via text. They can send you pictures, you can reciprocate, they can approve, sign their name, even apply for financing options, all while they're sitting in a meeting, hopefully still paying attention to the meeting though.
So true. So true. Hey, congratulations, Tim. Tim went up $300. $1,700 average repair order. That's pretty dang good. Gotta love that. It's awesome to be able to witness that, John, as you're standing on the bench or on the sidelines watching the game happen in front of you. You get to see and witness all this shop's greatness.
The success stories are awesome.
Oh, they absolutely are. Tonnika has a theme that she likes to run in her shop, which is do it right. So, John, I want to hear from you. What does do it right mean to you? Because we're going to land this plane here. John, and then Jennifer. Tonnika will let you close it out. But with the Institute, we are here to help you as a shop owner. You're a part of our industry. We are part of your industry. We want to lock arms with you and help you, meet you where you are so we can help you to progress, to grow, to get better. Let's lock arms. This is a crazy storm we're in. No two ships are the same. But if we lock arms together, we will not leave anybody behind. We will all make it together. At the Institute, we have coaching and training for advisors, managers, shop owners. We have group environments that helps you to see other peers. What might be a mountain to you is really a molehill. In that group environment, we can help you to discover ways around that molehill very quickly, which might be a mountain to you, but to others, they already did that on Tuesday. So we can get together and take care of that business. John, to you, do it right.
Remembering who you're doing it for. At Tekmetric, we do have the automotive background. I saw somebody in the chat post about Sunil's story and kind of how it got started. I mentioned my background is entirely automotive for the last 2 decades. I've done nothing but be in the automotive industry. That being said, I don't have all the good ideas. We see it all the time with shop owners or even just those that work in the shop. They've worked at other places. They come in with their own ideas. And those processes tend to change a little bit over time for the better of that individual and maybe for the better of the shop, but not necessarily for the betterment of their end user, their customer. And if we as Tekmetric in our shops can continue to keep who it's for in mind, for us, it's for the shop owner, but we also have to think through that and for your customers as well. Because if we do only things for you, it may lose contact with your customer. So doing it right, to me, is going to mean keeping in mind who you're actually doing it for, keeping that message the same, and driving to improve that. We've said it early on and continue to say it. Sunil started out with Tekmetric with a vision to introduce a technology shift in the automotive industry, right? We've got the cars that are half computer. We've got consumers that can do everything on their phone. And a lot of times in the industry, we're still trying to get to 1999. Y2K is upcoming in some of our minds. So we've got to think in advancement of all that and get ahead of that curve with in mind who we're doing it for so that we continue to strive in the right direction.
Yeah, it's paramount that you partner with the right people so that even though you may be technology adverse, you partner with the right people that help you get there in the right direction. Jennifer, what does it mean to you here? Do it right.
Well, the core values of the Institute is to build a better business, helps build a better life, and build a better industry. So as a group facilitator, that is my number one goal, is to help make our shop owners' businesses better, which in turn makes their individual lives better, which in turn enhances the industry. So software programs and management systems like Tekmetric make that simpler to do because we are able to identify areas that need improvement and to help our clients and our group members to take that next level and that next step. So doing it right is just utilizing all the information that we have and then encouraging and sometimes pushing, right, Tonnika, members to make those improvements to see that there are better profitability angles to go and work towards. And just do it with a lot of fun. So Jimmy, you mentioned locking arms and supporting each other. And that's exactly what our group process and our coaching does for our individual clients.
Beautiful. Yeah, I agree. Locking arms is the best way for us to do that. And we'll do it together. Tonnika, this is your mantra. This is your motto. Do it right. You've said it to me quite a few times in the past webinars, past conferences and trade shows. What does that mean to you to do it right in your shop? Hold on, sister, you're muted.
Am I here?
Yep.
Yeah, so I was saying, for me, second generation shop owner, one of the things everybody knows that's important to me is make my father happy. So I want to continue to do things right so our name lives on in a positive way. And I also have to get it ready for the next generation, my kids. Not only is it about my family, it's about my community. We're responsible for fixing and keeping our customers safe on the road. And these are the same people that I have to drive beside every day. I have to see them in the grocery store. I'm responsible for keeping them and their families safe. I have to do it right. I will see them in the grocery store. I'll see them at church. So my father's name is on that building. So doing it right is the only way that it can be done. There's no second guessing it. And so with the help of the Institute and Tekmetric, I feel like I'm getting righter and righter every time, So the more that I learn and the more that I'm coached with the Institute and everybody, Cecil, you, Jimmy, I'm just thinking, can I get any more writer?
And then we discover new levels of writer.
New levels of rightness is happening here. It's righteous. How about that one?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love that we're getting there. And, if you're seeing this information, you find value in what you're seeing, we are the Institute. We are here to meet you where you are, to help you grow. If you want to work with a coach like Jennifer, that's going to hold you accountable and show you what the possibilities are of that writer, of that better way of operating, a better way of doing things. Did you see that? I kicked my camera. We would love to partner with you on this so that we become that value partner with you. Let's lock arms. Let's lock arms together. We analyze different softwares, different programs in the industry to bring to you what we feel is a best of industry program. And Tekmetric is one of the best that we have in the industry. They're doing a phenomenal job. To that, we applaud you, John. We applaud your team. We applaud Tekmetric and where you're going. We appreciate the reporting that's available. It definitely helps our coaches. It helps our shop owners to be the best that they can possibly be.
Well, I'll take none of the credit, but I will absolutely accept it on our behalf.
Yeah, and send the message. Make sure everybody knows how much we appreciate what you're doing and the difference that they are making as an industry for our industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's awesome. With that, thank you very much for joining us today. Tonnika, thank you for joining. Jennifer, thank you. John, thank you. And with that, we're going to call this a very good day. Thank you, and we'll see you again soon.